In today's video, we're breaking down every detail and Easter egg in the Fallen and the Virtuous anime finale. I'll explain the ending, the lore, and all the cards and gameplay connections hidden in those scenes. And at the end, we'll also go over a few details Konami Animation may be saving for a potential Season 2. I mean, they gotta do it, right? It's just too good to pass up. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel and already like the video so you don't have to do it later, because I'm posting a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Lore videos on the channel and you don't want to miss out. Now, before we dive into the episode, let's set the scene on the origins of the Fallen of Albaz story. Yeah, Konami didn't just come up with all these themes, they already existed in the real world. The Fallen of Albaz story is actually heavily inspired by an English author called William Blake, who wrote a book in 1893 called The Four Zoas. Don't worry, it's not as boring as it sounds. Think of William Blake's story as a myth about a giant being named Albion. Yes, Albion is the hero of William Blake's story. Albion represents all of humanity. At the start, Albion is whole and balanced, but then his personality splits apart into four sides, similar to the four circles in the art of Branded in White, as we see in the episode as well, which I also have tattooed right here. So Fallen of Albaz is of course broken into multiple personalities who are represented in dragons, who represent different emotions, feelings, and even the image of the four Zoas as seen in William Blake's book is of course represented in the branded artworks extensively. The artwork of Branded in White, and in this episode as we mentioned, and even in the art of Albalenidus the Abyss Dragon. So that's a little bit of scene setting before we dive into the episode. So going into the episode, Albaz transforms once again, literally in the heat of the moment, as fear-driven reaction to witnessing the Golgonda serpent. The serpent itself has a mystical connection to the Dogmatic Calamity ritual happening at the Dogmatica capital in parallel, but we'll talk about that later in the video. The serpent's body is full of diamond-shaped voids identical to the ones Albaz originally fell from in episode 1. And yes, Dogmatic Calamity is happening in parallel in the capital. That is the ritual turning all of Dogmatica's citizens into Despias, or just evil beings. But again, we'll get to that in the spoiler section of this video. Now we see Albion the Branded Dragon, and it looks absolutely tiny and powerless next to the serpent. This dynamic is reflected in the card Screams of the Branded, which depicts Albion fighting the serpent, but its in-game effect is also extremely weak compared to other Lightning Overdrive lore cards. It only revives a fusion monster sent to the graveyard that turn, symbolizing how overmatched Albion is in this fight. Albion does so little damage that the serpent's shockwave casually just sends Kit flying. Then a massive lightning bolt strikes both the serpent and Albion. Albion crashes down, while the serpent is rattled but still standing. As Ecclesia and the group look up, they notice three unfamiliar figures descending, a moment that confused many viewers because there's no dialogue or hints that are identifying them. But I can tell you that these figures are of course Fleur de Lis, Ecclesia's mentor/sister, and Theo and Aiden, who are members of the Dogmatica Church, which we saw briefly at the beginning of episode 1 in the church scene. Their new appearances tied to deeper lore we'll explore in the spoiler segment. Ecclesia looking up at them is a direct callback to the Springance Interluder artwork from Dawn of Majesty, the set that also introduced the Despia. Despite being a continuous trap, its lore implications are rather temporary. It lets you return a Springance Xyz monster into the extra deck, mirroring the Springance retreating just moments ago in the anime, and either negate a card or revive a level 8 monster. Fleur's Lightning Strike actually does both, disabling the serpent while giving Albion an escape route. Albion is of course a level 8. Right after that, we even see Albion getting recharged by Fleur's lightning and gaining a second wind. So why are these three here, and why are they dressed differently from episode 1 or the last time we saw them? We'll circle back to that soon. Fleur, not caring about allegiances at this point, is preparing a massive finishing strike on the serpent. But Ecclesia, at this point uncertain of who she's looking at, rushes toward Albion to save him. It's a striking moment where Ecclesia sees Fleur as a threat and Albaz, once her enemy, as her ally that she needs to protect. She's ready to risk her life for him. I guess that's already the second time that happened. As Ecclesia sprints, Fleur gives a subtle side glance. She looks at the side a little bit, recognizing Ecclesia, and hesitates. Ecclesia reaches Albion, who, like most of Albaz's forms, isn't fully conscious or in control. But through their connection, she calms him, transforming his blazing orange scales into a black-coated form with rather familiar features to his human self. The white hair with red streaks, the dark skin, and of course the necklace. There are key hidden details here. One, the wide shot of Ecclesia reaching for Albion mirrors the art from Branded Bond, again from Dawn of Majesty, which summons Fallen of Albaz from Hand, Graveyard, or Banishment, which symbolizes Albaz returning from any state. And at this point, he's returning from an evil dragon into a calmer, nicer one. And the new Black Dragon is, of course, Albion the Shrouded Dragon, which is officially considered Fallen of Albaz while on the field or graveyard. And it's also the only main deck Albaz Dragon form, meaning that this Albaz is Albaz at its most authentic, fully conscious dragon state, unlike all the other fusion monsters. He's now in control, and we see that through the affectionist, almost puppy-like moment with Ecclesia. And as the credits roll, we finally get the reunion teased since episode 1. Ecclesia hugs Fleur, and Fleur, normally pretty stoic, pats her on the head and smiles. In this exact frame, we clearly see one of Fleur's stigmata, matching the one on Ecclesia's forehead. That detail is extremely important, and we'll get to that shortly. And that stigmata is not on Fleur's forehead, it's actually on her arm. The episode then closes with Albaz, Ecclesia, and a small Springans companion flying off towards, hopefully, Season 2. This little Springan appears in several later cards, including Albaz the Ashen, and of course the rarity collection for Alt Art of Fallen of Albaz. Now this was the spoiler-free breakdown of this episode and this finale, but now, let's talk about what Konami Animation could be planning for Season 2. Why do Fleur, Theo, and Aiden look different? Who are they now, and where did they come from? Of course, where are they headed? To answer that, we need to revisit the High Priest Maximus, the Maximus that we see in Episode 1 and here in Episode 2, calling the Dogmatica back from their battle against the Tri-Brigade, is now performing the Dogmatic Calamity ritual in the capital. This ritual transforms Dogmatica citizens into Despia, corrupting their minds, their bodies, basically turning them into puppets under Maximus's control. And of course, as we see the rise of the Despia, we'll see the antagonist of the story, Aluber, who is the jester and leader of the Despia. This figure is super important to the story, as he is the main opponent to Albaz besides Maximus. And also, theoretically speaking, could be representing another side of Albaz himself. Aluber is a very important character, both in the card game and in this story, and hopefully, as part of Season 2, we finally get to see him and understand a little bit more about his motivations. In addition, Fleur, Aiden, and Theo in the capital were also caught in this Dogmatic Calamity chaos. They were there in the capital when Maximus first initiated the ritual. Fleur was actually seriously injured, and the trio fled to the only place capable of sealing their stigmata, their scars, and cutting Maximus's influence on them. They were also essentially supposed to turn into Despias, into corrupted minds and puppets of Maximus, and Maximus is controlling all of the Dogmatica by working on their scars, but they managed to escape just in time. We also see the damage done to Fleur in the art of White Knight of Dogmatica, but thankfully, she escaped in time. They did journey to the Sword Soul Summit, a mystical floating mountain realm inhabited by secretive worm warriors and the mysterious Ice Jades. As depicted in Sword Soul Emergence, they came to the summit, and as showed in Ice Jade Cradle, they received healing for Fleur. After recovering, the trio set out to return to the Dogmatica capital to confront Maximus. But on the way, they ran into Ecclesia and the group in the desert, leading to the moment we see in the finale. This is where I'll wrap up things for now, because coming soon I'll be recording a new video that covers every potential Season 2 spoiler and new lore arc that could appear in the show. Hopefully we get that soon. So yeah, what's happening in the Dogmatica Nation? Who are the Despia? What's happening in the Sword Soul Summit? And how important and overlooked are the Ice Jades to the story? All of that and more in the Season 2 spoiler video. But for now, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.